Hello everyone, this is trigg.minnick from beautiful Orlando, Florida. As a realtor, I get asked all the time about what's going on in the market, what has caused what's happened, what's the history of what's happened, and what we can look forward to, if you will. So I put together this video to go over some of the data to help us analyze and understand where we've been and maybe where we're going. And then in a future video, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the reasonings of what's happened and what is likely to happen, and a lot of the different underlying issues, challenges, and some of the positives that we can actually expect out of the market coming up. So what we're going to do is dive into this spreadsheet that I've created to look over some of the data in the Central Florida area that I was speaking about. We're going to look at the recent trends in real estate, both month over month, i.e. this March versus this April, and this April versus last April. And then we're going to look at a little bit of historical data to kind of see where we've been. So there are 6 different categories of data that we're going to look at. We're going to look at active listings, median price, the number of units sold within the month, the average days on market, and the average days to sale, and I'll describe the difference in that, and then the average sales price per square foot. So over the last couple of months, we've seen just some minor changes. The number of active listings is really pretty close. It's a little bit up from March to April, but nothing significant. Same thing with the median price. Again, it is already up 2.5% just in 1 month, and we've seen that over the past couple of years anyway. A month to month, 2-3% is not uncommon. The number of units sold actually went down a little bit, so that was more of a reflection of the units that went listing in February and or units that are still pending and not quite sold. Average days on market has dropped just a little bit. From 27 to 24 is not a big deal, and we'll compare that to some previous years and talk a little bit about that. Now, the average days to sale, that's an interesting one to me. So this is from the time it starts being listed until the contract closes and the property changes legal authority. The one thing I find interesting about this is over the years, this number has been changing, and it's been going down fairly rapidly, or at least consistently over the years. And what that indicates is that our closings are getting quicker. Okay, so this is basically the closing time is the difference between the average days on market and the average days to sell. So when that starts shrinking, one thing that tells us is either there's really solid efficiencies being gained in the loan and closing process, and part of that may be because there's a lot of cash sellers, cash buyers, and or a lot of high equity situations where the loan doesn't get as deeply scrutinized. And that is further backed up if you look at the stats that tell us about how many primary residence buyers there are versus how many investor buyers there are. That's been going up nationwide, more and more investors, and in Florida that's even larger. Overall in the nation, we're at about 35% of properties are owned by investors. And here's an interesting one. In Miami last year, 50% of properties, 51% of properties were purchased all cash, no mortgage whatsoever. Of course, a lot of that is investors. So kind of interesting to see where the market's going with that. Another one that's really interesting, especially if we look at historical trends going back a few years, is the average price per square feet. So let's compare, March to April, no big changes. Average days on market is decreasing again, but that's a small number, but not a big deal. So if we look at this April versus April 2021, we also still will see some changes. Median price, 25%. Now, keep in mind that this data is taken from the MLS, multiple service listing, Stellar, that covers Lake, Orange, Polk, and Seminole County, so very much the Central Florida area. You see that our median price has gone up 25%. We're down a little bit in the number of units sold, and our average days on market has changed dramatically. That's one of the things I kept telling people about is, yeah, the market's going up, but the big thing that's challenging for buyers and for buyers agents is that average days on market is so short, and it got even shorter from last year to the start of this year. So homes, and when they hit the market, they go fast. Average days to sale, again, now if we look at the April number for this versus April 2021 versus 22, that's cutting down a lot. I mean, we cut out 30% over that time period, and I don't think that could possibly be efficiencies in the loan process or in the title process. That pretty much is a really strong indicator that we have buyers coming in that are able to close quickly because they either have great financial situation and thus makes the loan very easy, and or it's just an all cash buyer. So that's trending that way. Now also look at the price per square foot. Lastly, $164 currently. If we go back just 5 years, it was $90. That's not double, but it's not far off of it. 180, what's that, 88%, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's a huge difference over just 5 years. So a lot of people that bought in 2017 probably have really substantial equity right now, and it might be a good time for them to cash out and move on to the next house. So here you see the recent historical changes in Central Florida. Hopefully that helps you understand what's been going on recently in the market. But the next time, instead of looking at a review of those lagging indicators, we're going to discuss some key underlying factors that could be strong leading indicators of what is a really unique market situation right now. And we're going to talk about things like some of the demographic issues, the housing inventory, what's going on in the mortgage industry, and why this really isn't much like 2008. And we're also going to look at how COVID impacted some of these issues. As always, feel free to reach out to me directly if you want to have a discussion about this. And thanks again for watching. This is Trigg. I'm out.